Hi everybody and welcome back to Ham 101. Today's episode is Do You Need an Upgrade? I'm Herb NZ0F and this is a YouTube video series designed to help new hams get connected and get active in the hobby. Today we're going to talk about these wonderful little handheld radios. You may have bought one of these as your first radio, and if you did, that's okay. That's not a wrong choice. This is my first radio, actually, the very one that I'm holding here. It's a Yaesu FT60 that I bought several years ago. But you may have gotten reports as you've tried to check into nets and talk to people on the repeaters and things like that. You may have had trouble, people telling you you're not getting a good signal into the repeater or you're not receiving the repeater well. There's some things you can do to upgrade your signal with this radio that don't cost much and are pretty easy to do. And so we're going to talk about some of those today. So the first thing you can do if you're getting bad signal reports and people say they can't hear you is make sure you're using the best technique. So talking into one of these handheld radios, you need to, first of all, locate where the microphone is. On this Yaesu FT60, it's right here, and I think it's not labeled, but there's a little hole there. Generally speaking, it will be a separate hole. It will not be the speaker. It'll be a separate hole, or it may be labeled on the front of the unit. So you want to make sure that that's centered in front of your face or in front of your mouth, and you want to talk fairly close into the radio. And you want to talk in a voice that is authoritative. You want to talk as if you're talking to somebody that's across the room, or if you're talking outside. You want to use a fairly loud voice. You don't want to shout. You don't want to sound unnatural, but you need to keep it fairly close to your face, and you need to talk fairly loudly. The other thing you can do is keep the radio perfectly up and down, perfectly vertical. The antenna that is receiving your signal is also vertical, and so once you start drifting off that vertical, you are increasing the difficulty in getting a good signal to the repeater. So try to keep it vertical, try to keep it in front of your face, try to talk loudly. Good audio and loud audio will cover a lot of sins. So second, we can do some things that are also fairly inexpensive, and that is to upgrade your antenna. There are a number of aftermarket antennas that will work with your radio. Generally speaking, you're looking for the ones that are longer. This one happens to be about 18 inches long, and that will increase your signal strength by a little bit anyway. People mostly, these little rubber duck antennas that come with handhelds are notoriously inefficient and notoriously poor when it comes to transmit and receive. These are better. You can buy these anywhere from, there's a lot of different versions of these, anywhere from 15, 20 bucks up to 30 or 40 bucks. This in and of itself will probably help your transmit and your receive a little bit, but it's not, it won't cure all ills, but you might try this as a first option to try to improve your signal a little bit. Another popular thing, and I'm not a big subscriber to this, but there's this thing called a Tigertail. And let me put that down for a second. And so what this is basically is just a short length of wire. It's about 19.5 inches long that is designed to fit over the terminal, the antenna terminal on your radio, and then you screw the antenna down on top of that. And that's called a Tigertail. And so if you look at that, what have we created here? We've created a dipole. We've got the active part of the dipole, we've got the counterpoise of the dipole. So we've created a more efficient antenna system. And a lot of people swear by these things. I have tried them, haven't had any real noticeable difference in my signals, but a lot of people swear by them and love them and use them all the time. My problem with them is that now you've got this extra appendage hanging down here it's likely to get caught up, and if you start tangling it up and things like that, it's not going to be working very effectively for you. So even though they, in theory and in physics of it, which should work better than just the antenna by itself alone, the reality is that it's not as convenient as you might think. So if we've done all we can to improve the antenna that comes with this radio, what's our next option? So we can go to the longer antenna, the aftermarket antenna. We can do the Tigertail. Our next option is to go with an external antenna. And the easiest way to do that is what's called a Hershey's Kiss mag mount antenna. So why is it called a Hershey's Kiss? Well, look at the base of that thing and tell me what it looks like. Yep, it looks like a Hershey's Kiss. So a lot of people refer to these as a Kiss antenna. It's basically a magnet in the bottom here that will attach to any steel surface, any metallic surface that's magnetic, and a short cable here. And lo and behold, it has the right connector on it. It has an SMA connector that screws right into your handheld. So you can connect that to your handheld. You don't need any other cables. You don't need any adapters or anything like that. And I just turned the radio on. And this can be then slapped on top of a refrigerator, on top of a filing cabinet. If you want to put it outside, if you're sitting on the deck, you can slap this on top of your barbecue grill. Anything that this will stick to, as long as you've got kind of a nice large metal area underneath that. And that will help your signal immensely. Just getting that antenna away from your body and out in the open. And even though this is just a quarter wave antenna, and these come in quarter wave, or these come in dual band versions, but this one happens to be a 2 meter, but they come in 2 meter and dual band 442 meter versions. So that will help your signal also. Beyond that, you need to start looking at outdoor antennas that are permanently mounted. And that's where you start to run into just a little bit of cost on these things. A good antenna like the one we've shown here in the picture probably runs $75 or so, and then you can have to come up with the mounting arrangements for that so that you can get it outside, get it up in the air. It doesn't have to be 50 feet in the air. If you can get it 20 feet in the air, you'll be amazed at how much difference you can make with that, even with a 5-watt HT. The other challenge that creates when you get into that is that now you've got some issues with coaxial cable and feed line and connectors and things like that. Outside antennas are almost always set up to use SO239 and PL259, what we call UHF connectors. That's used with a little larger cable than what's normally attached to one of these little mag mount antennas. And so you'll need an adapter for that. And those are readily available. I recommend the adapters that have a short piece of cable and have an SMA connector that goes into your radio and has the SO239 on the other end. You can get an adapter that goes right on your radio, but that puts a lot of extra stress on your radio because you've got a big fat coaxial cable coming into the top of this, and as you move your radio around, it's putting a lot of stress on that little SMA connector. But I mean, that's kind of the ultimate. That's kind of as far as you can go with a handheld radio until you want to get into amplifiers and things like that. And if you're going to do that, you might as well get a mobile radio that has more power. And that's really, if you try all these other tips and you can't get out and you're still not getting good signal reports and whatnot, then the 5 watts that this HT is doing is just not enough. And so therefore you're going to have to go into something else. And we'll cover that topic. We'll cover the whole thing about mobile radios at a later date. But until then, I hope that some of these tips will help you. It's important for you to have a good signal so that people want to talk to you and it's comfortable to listen to other people on the repeater. So I hope you'll experiment with some of these things. Again, most of these things are not very expensive. The aftermarket antennas, 15, 20, 30 bucks. These little KISS antennas, I think are about the same range, $25, $30. You can buy those from any ham radio store. You can order those through Amazon. So experiment with some of that stuff, and I think you'll be amazed at how much difference it makes in your signal. And once you get a good signal into the repeater, people will be more willing to talk to you, and you'll have a lot more fun in ham radio. So until next time, this is Herb, NZ0F73, and we'll talk to you next time.